Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News on India's Voice to the World. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour, US President Trump claims Iran totally defeated and wants a deal. Tehran says no damage to Kharg oil infrastructure after US strike. Indian flagged vessel Jag Prakash sails away safely from Strait of Hormuz as New Delhi closely monitors situation amid West Asia tension. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Kolkata today will inaugurate and lay foundation stone for development projects worth around rupees 18,680 crores. New Delhi World Para Athletics Grand Prix concludes. India dominates with 208 medals. US President Donald Trump has warned Iran that Washington could strike the oil infrastructure on Kharg Island if Tehran continues to disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said the United States had already carried out strikes on military targets on Kharg Island, Iran's main oil export hub, but deliberately avoided hitting the island's oil infrastructure. In a post on Truth Social, he said that for reasons of decency, the US chose not to destroy the oil facilities. Meanwhile, Iranian media claimed that US strikes caused no damage to oil infrastructure on Kharg Island. At the same time, Iran's armed forces warned they would target US-linked oil facilities if Iranian energy installations come under attack. Kharg Island is a small, strategically vital Iranian island in the northern Persian Gulf, primarily known as the country's main terminal for oil exports. Let's take a look at the key characteristics, historical significance, and the recent geopolitical status of the island. Iran, the third largest producer in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, handles approximately 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. The island pumps about 4.5% of global oil supplies, with output of about 3.3 million barrels per day of crude plus 1.3 million barrels per day of condensate and other liquids. Due to its critical economic and military importance, it is heavily guarded by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and access for civilians is strictly restricted. The island collects oil coming by pipeline from Iran's largest producing fields, including Ahvaz, Marun, and Gatsaran. It is one of the few islands in the Gulf with its own natural freshwater supply. On March 13, 2026, the United States announced it had bombed military installations on the island as part of the ongoing conflict. In the days leading up to the US-Israeli attack, Iran ramped up exports from Kharg to near record levels, loading over 3 million barrels per day over February 15 to 20th, nearly triple its normal export pace of around 1.3 million to 1.6 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has claimed that Iran has been totally defeated in the US-Israeli military campaign and is now seeking a deal. Taking to his social media platform Truth Social, Trump alleged that the fake news media hates to report how well the United States military has done against Iran, which is totally defeated, and wants a deal, but not a deal that I would accept. In another update, a drone struck the US embassy in Baghdad on Saturday. According to the Iraqi security sources, the drone hit the US diplomatic area in Baghdad. The Associated Press news agency is reporting that Iraqi officials say a helipad at the US embassy in Baghdad was hit by a missile. Meanwhile, Qatar on Saturday intercepted 2 missiles after blasts were heard in the capital Doha, and authorities said they had evacuated some key areas. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Defense also said the latest drone to be intercepted and destroyed was in the east of the country. All right, and DV Vinod is joining us from Dubai. Vinod, what is the latest you're tracking here? As Trump has said, US may now strike the oil infrastructure on Kharg Island.
Yes, Abhishek. This is one of the most consequential decision notes in West Asia. Geopolitics in decades. Let me break it down properly. Kharg Island is the crown jewel of Iran. The situation, to analyze the situation of US striking Kharg Island, we need to see the various players in this particular geopolitical game that is being played. For the US, hitting Kharg Islands achieve maximum coercive pressure on Iran. But the cost for both sides of this war is brutal. The US is using this pressure tactic to gain maximum leverage for the Iranian nuclear talks and the Hormuz harassment by Iran. But it suffers immediately once the Kharg Island's oil facility is struck, because 90% of Iran's oil export goes through this particular island. Oil price shock that will be the aftermath of this strike will be immediate, and the oil might go up to $150 per day. Yes, okay. There will be windfall gains for some oil exporters like Russia and some oil exporters like in the US. But definitely there is a commitment trap as well. Threatening Kharg is more valuable than actually hitting it, because once you do that, you have consumed your best coercive chip. In game theory, this is akin to calling as burning the bridge. It removes your own future options while handing Iran a justification for maximum escalation. Once Kharg oil facility is gone, there is nothing much Iran has left to lose. So Iran's rational strategy shifts completely from that moment. Then from that moment onwards, Iran's economy will be completely toppled down. There won't be any money to pay their commanders. So that will make the hardliners in IRGC even more reason to strike back at the oil facilities of GCC. There has been previous examples of Kharg being hit in the 1980s playbook. If you see, when the Iran-Iraq war has happened, the Kharg oil facility was hit. And at that time, the Iran's economy did not capitulate completely, but a third party has intervened. At that time, the third party was the United States, and they had to provide escorts to the ships from Kuwait and other parties. The mission was called the Operation Earnest Hail. So in this case, the maximum damage that can happen due to the Kharg facility being hit is China, because China is the only nation which is having maximum oil sourcing from this facility. Almost 3 million barrels of 1.1 million barrels of oil is being transited through Strait of Hormuz from Kharg to China. Once this Kharg oil facility is hit, oil prices will rise, and China will have an immediate impact on its economy. So what I would understand at this moment is that Trump is making this threat as a leverage, and he will not execute this leverage. At the second order geopolitical analysis, you can see that who will be getting maximum amount of windfall gains out of this. It will be Russia, because Russia is one of the main oil exporters now. Since the war has started from February 28th, Russia has got a windfall gains because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oil has touched 120. Once Kharg is hit, the oil price will even go up to 150. This will give immense geopolitical advantage and money advantage to Russia. And what will Russia do with this money? They will bolster their attacks against Ukraine, and they can take a medium term positions for getting Odisha. So it will be like handing over this coercive chip to Russia if Kharg is hit and that coercive chip is executed.
Okay, Vinod, Siddharth here. And what is the situation, Vinod, the UAE right now?
Hi, Siddharth. See, as of today, Saturday, UAE is at the highest level of readiness because of the regional conflict is entering the third week. Today morning, we have got a report that the Fujairah oil facility is closed as matter of precaution, because there was drone seen loitering around. Day before yesterday itself, Iran has vowed retaliation against the major financial centers and the technical centers here in West Asia. So UAE is the country which is receiving maximum number of projectiles from Iran. We have close to 1,900 projectiles so far intercepted, and interceptions keep continuing here. Today morning there was an interception which happened again at the Dubai International Financial Center. Again it was targeted at the main financial centers because the Iran's Bank of Sepah was attacked by US 3 days back. So Iran is viewing this center as a prime target, but almost all of the projectiles that is being sent from Iran is successfully being intercepted. And as far as people who are the residents of Dubai, it's a normal day out here. We are getting continuous messages on our phone that drone threats are there. But otherwise, for an average person, the day is normal. Yes, of course, there is significant low footfall in touristic areas and other areas of curiosity, but otherwise life is normal here. And security and air defense are at the highest alert.
Okay, all right. Vinod, we leave it there. Thank you so much. The United States is offering a reward of up to $10 million for information about senior Iranian military and intelligence officials, including its new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei. According to the State Department website, the reward targets Iran's new supreme leader and 10 officials associated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. In addition to the supreme leader, the US is seeking information about Iran's security chief Ali Larijani, intelligence minister Ismail Khatib, interior minister Eskander Momeni, and 2 officials in Khamenei's office. The reward website also lists 4 other officials, including the IRGC commander and secretary of the Defense Council, but doesn't include their names or photos. The United States on Friday told its non-emergency US government employees in Oman and their family members to leave the Gulf country as war rages in the West Asia. The State Department updated its advisory to warn Americans of safety risks, noting there has been an ongoing threat of drone and missile attacks from Iran and significant disruptions to commercial flights. State media reported on Friday 2 people were killed by drone in northern Oman as Iran continues its retaliatory attacks on neighboring countries. Also, the Israeli army issued an advisory for their people in an industrial zone in the west of Iran's northern city of Tabriz to leave ahead of military operations. Urgent warning to all people located in the industrial area west of Tabriz, the Israeli military posted on X, adding it would continue to operate in the area in the coming hours. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Friday called on all parties to end the war in West Asia during a visit to Lebanon. While in Beirut, Guterres also announced a $308 million flash appeal to help Lebanon cope with the fallout of a war that has forced more than 1/7 of its population from their homes.
When I was High Commissioner for Refugees, I saw the generosity of the Lebanese receiving so many Syrians, so many Palestinians. And today, it really breaks my heart to see the Lebanese people suffering so much. 800,000 displaced, 1,500 dead, in an absolutely dramatic situation. And my message is very clear. We must stop this war.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. North Korea fires ballistic missile towards south. Japan sets up emergency response team. Russia open to further talks as trilateral negotiations delayed. Italy to vote on March 22nd and 23rd in a constitutional referendum.
Landscaping is no longer centered around aesthetics. It's also about functionality and conservation. Let's try and understand how choices made around plants, soil and water can slowly reshape land over time.
I think the most interesting part about that project is that it keeps everything in mind. It's not focused on producing just for human beings. It's also focused on the fact that we are not the only ones living on this planet. There are other creatures too, and we need to make space for them as well.
It's important that people actually notice electricity is cheaper because those things are standing so close to me.
We're trying to teach our generation, the future generation, how these wetlands will play a role in our future, so that they can protect them and preserve them.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
You're watching TD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. North Korea fired a projectile towards the sea on Saturday, South Korea and Japan said, with Tokyo saying it may have been a ballistic missile while the US and South Korea conducted military drills. The projectile was fired toward the sea off North Korea's east coast, the South Korean military said in a brief message. Japan's Coast Guard said the projectile appeared to have fallen into the sea. It appeared to have fallen outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. Seoul and Washington 5 days earlier launched the major drills, which they say are purely defensive, aimed at testing readiness against military threats from North Korea. Nuclear-armed North Korea frequently displays its anger and objections to such exercises, saying they are dress rehearsals for armed aggression against it by the allies. Meanwhile, South Korean Prime Minister Kim Min-seok and US President Donald Trump discussed on Friday possible reopening of talks between Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in a meeting in Washington. And Russia hopes to continue trilateral talks with the United States and Ukraine on the ongoing conflict, though no date has been set for a new round of negotiations. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that Russia remains in contact with the US over the Ukraine issue. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said a new round of trilateral talks, originally scheduled for next Wednesday and Thursday, has been postponed after the US requested a change of date. Zelensky said disagreements between the US and Russia over the venue have also prevented the meeting from being finalized. The Russian, Ukrainian and US delegations previously held 2 rounds of talks in Abu Dhabi of the United Arab Emirates on January 23rd and 24th and February 4th and 5th, followed by another round in Geneva on February 17 and 18, yielding no agreement on key issues. In an effort to restore diplomatic ties, Venezuela's interim leader Delcy Rodriguez asked US President Donald Trump to totally lift the sanctions imposed on her country. American officials are seeking greater access to Venezuela's oil and mineral wealth since the US military's action against leader Nicolas Maduro on January 3rd. The US Treasury began imposing sanctions in 2014 that have crippled Venezuela's economy, which saw inflation soar to 475% in 2025. Its oil infrastructure has also suffered from years of underinvestment, with the country currently producing only a few million barrels per day despite having the world's largest oil reserves. But since January, the US has eased a 7-year-old oil embargo on Venezuela and issued licenses allowing a handful of multinationals to operate in the country under certain conditions. News coming in from Thailand now. Thailand's King Maha Vajiralongkorn is set to open parliament on Saturday. At last month's general election result faces court scrutiny over barcodes on the ballots that may have violated the law. The country's office of the Ombudsman has petitioned the Constitutional Court of Thailand to examine whether barcodes and QR codes printed on ballots in the February 8 general election violated electoral laws. The complaints argue that the codes could potentially reveal which candidate or party a voter supported, undermining the secrecy of the ballot. The Election Commission said the barcodes were included only for security purposes, and identifying a voter would require access to the upper half of the ballots that is securely stored. Meanwhile, the Bhum Jai Thai party, led by Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul, prepares to form a coalition government with the Pheu Thai party and other smaller groups. The alliance is expected to command more than 290 seats in the 500-member parliament. Lawmakers are scheduled to reconvene on Sunday to elect a new House Speaker. A parliamentary vote to confirm the next Prime Minister is likely to take place later in the week. Italians will vote on March 22nd and 23rd in a constitutional referendum that proposes changes to the structure of the country's judiciary. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says the reform is necessary to ensure greater impartiality among judges. However, critics argue that the move is a power grab that could undermine judicial independence and make judges more answerable to politicians. Let's take a look at the reform and its significance. Supporters of the judicial reform say its aim is to ensure that magistrates' rulings are free from bias. They argue that separating the careers of judges and prosecutors to make them fully distinct while changing their oversight bodies will help keep judges impartial to the ultimate benefit of the defendant. Those who oppose the reform say that reorganization is designed to weaken the power and independence of judges, however, to make them potentially more vulnerable to political influence. There are two pillars to the proposed reform. The first would impose on prosecutors and judges distinct career paths. Currently, both prosecutors and judges are considered magistrates and as such can switch functions, although only a tiny minority do so. A 2022 justice reform, moreover, limited that to one change per career in the first 10 years. The reform's second pillar regards each profession's oversight. The Superior Council of the Judiciary, which currently oversees all magistrates and is charged with assignments, transfers and promotions, will be divided into two distinct councils, one for prosecutors and one for judges. The CSM today also acts as a disciplinary body, but under the reform, a new 15-member disciplinary court will be set up. Appeals will also be handled by that body instead of by a third-party entity, as happens today, in which appeals go before the Supreme Court. Unlike today, where CSM members are elected by peers and Parliament, the reform introduces random selection with members to be chosen by a lot for both councils and the disciplinary court. Important details have yet to be drafted, however. A fraction of the judges to be randomly selected for the new court will come from a list compiled by Parliament, but whether that list is long or short has not been determined. Voters in the Republic of Congo will go to the polls on Sunday for a presidential election. The vote is widely expected to extend the 42-year rule of incumbent Denis Sassou Nguesso. In fact, Nguesso, with more than 3.2 million registered voters in the oil-producing nation. Sassou, who first took power in 1979 and has ruled almost continuously since, faces 6 challengers, including opposition candidate Joseph Kingnombi Kia Mbongo. On the other side, the opposition is divided, with some candidates running for the presidency for the first time. In the capital, residents expressed mixed priorities ahead of the vote. The provisional results expected within 48 to 72 hours. Protesters took to the streets of Quito on Friday, expressing growing discontent with President Daniel Noboa's administration over labor reforms, budget cuts and rising insecurity, escalating tensions in the Andean nation's capital. Marchers carried anti-government signs, chanted slogans and clashed with heavily deployed police who used tear gas to disperse crowds. Protest leaders argued the reforms have worsened unemployment and limited access to healthcare and essential services. Organizations such as the United Workers' Front and National Educators Union organized the demonstrations, while some opposition figures pledged continued nationwide protests unless policies change. Update now on the synagogue attack in Michigan. The FBI on Thursday confirmed that the attack in suburban Detroit was a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community as authorities work to uncover the motive behind the incident. FBI officials said the assailant, identified as Ayman Muhammad Ghazali, a 41-year-old resident of the Dearborn Heights, Michigan, had no prior criminal record or history of FBI investigations. They also stated that investigations are relying on evidence, and while the attack appears targeted, the motive and full context are still unknown.
Acts of violence against houses of worship, schools, and our communities have no place in Michigan, and the FBI continues to work tirelessly to provide support for these families and to investigate the events that led up to this ruthless act of violence. We are aware that there's been a significant amount of public reporting about the assailant. However, because we are only 30 hours into this active investigation, it would be irresponsible for me to speculate about his motive at this time. Our team has been working around the clock to ensure that we remain focused on providing confirmed facts about this investigation rather than uncorroborated speculation.
Ghazali rammed a truck into the synagogue, injuring a security officer who was briefly knocked unconscious and igniting a fire that caused smoke-related injuries to dozens of first responders. The incident took place at Temple Israel, one of the biggest synagogues in the United States. According to synagogue officials, all 140 preschool children were evacuated safely, and authorities said security personnel helped prevent additional casualties. Meanwhile, synagogues in New York City and the Consulate General of Israel in New York remained quiet after the attack raised fears of retaliatory violence linked to the escalating conflict involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. The subdued scenes contrasted with rising anxiety among Jewish communities across the country. The attack came amid broader concerns about violence on U.S. soil as the war in West Asia intensifies tensions and unrest in the U.S. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Autistic artists are exceptional minds. A non-profit visual effects academy are making their mark on Hollywood. The organization trains adults with autism in visual effects, animation, and workplace skills, preparing them for careers in film, TV, and video games. Alumni have contributed to 19 Oscar-nominated or winning films. CEO Lauren DeVilliers emphasized that the program helps graduates live independent and meaningful lives. A giant portrait of Palestinian girl Hind Rajab appeared on a British beach as the docudrama is set to compete at the Oscars on Sunday. The voice of Hind Rajab is nominated for Best International Feature Film. The giant artwork, made from raking sand to create different tones and detail, was made on Scarborough Beach. Traditional chiefs welcomed the return of a talking drum looted over a century ago. The drum, Gigi Ayokwe, meaning panther lion, is over 3 meters long and weighs nearly 400 kilograms. It was used by the Atchan people to signal forced labor and mobilize fighters during colonial rule. This is the first of 148 artifacts Ivory Coast seeks to have returned from France. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India condoles loss of lives of 2 Indian nationals in Oman. On the second day of Assam visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gives a developmental push to the northeastern region. Government revokes climate activist Sonam Wangchuk's detention to boost Ladakh dialogue.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
You're watching DD Indian News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. US President Trump claims Iran totally defeated and wants a deal. Tehran says no damage to Kharg oil infrastructure after US strike. Indian flagged vessel Jug Prakash sails away safely from Strait of Hormuz as New Delhi closely monitors situation amid West Asia tension. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Kolkata today will inaugurate and lay foundation stone for development projects worth around rupees 18,680 crores. New Delhi World Para Athletics Grand Prix concludes. India dominates with 208 medals. External Affairs Ministry of India on Friday expressed condolences on the loss of lives of 2 Indian nationals in an attack in Oman's Sohar amid the ongoing conflict in West Asia. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal in a social media post said that several other Indian nationals were also injured in the drone attack. Expressing deepest condolences to the families of the deceased, the MEA spokesperson said the Indian mission in Oman is in touch with the local authorities as well as the employer company and is extending all possible assistance. Air India and Air India Express together operating a total of 80 scheduled and non-scheduled flights to and from the West Asia region on March 14. The 2 carriers continue to operate their respective scheduled services to and from Jeddah and Muscat on Saturday, operating a total of 10 flights to and from Jeddah, and Air India Express operating 8 scheduled flights to and from Muscat. Additionally, Air India will operate 1 round trip from Delhi and 2 round trips from Mumbai to Jeddah, while Air India Express will operate 1 flight each from Kozhikode and Mangaluru to Jeddah and back. Air India Express will also operate its scheduled services to Muscat, including 1 round trip each from Delhi, Kochi, Kozhikode and Mumbai. In addition to the scheduled services, Air India and Air India Express would operate a total of 62 non-scheduled flights to and from the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, subject to availability of slots and other prevailing conditions at the departure stations at the time. These flights are being operated with the requisite permissions from the relevant Indian and local regulatory authorities. One of the 28 Indian flagged vessels stranded in the Strait of Hormuz during the ongoing conflict in the region has since sailed away safely. At a media briefing, Special Secretary in the Ministry of Shipping, Rajesh Kumar Sinha, said that the Indian flagged oil tanker Jug Prakash, which is carrying gasoline to Africa, has set sail from east of the Strait of Hormuz. Hundreds of ships had been stranded in the narrow sea lane between Iran and Oman since the US and Israel launched attacks on Iran, and Tehran targeted the region in retaliation. He also said that in all 28 Indian flagged vessels were struck, 24 on the west of the Strait of Hormuz and 4 on the east. He further added that the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways continues to closely monitor the maritime situation in the Persian Gulf. All right, and my colleague Jessica Taneja joins me from New Delhi. Hi, Jessica. They're believed to be around 27 Indian flagged ships in the Strait of Hormuz. One sailed away safely. How closely is India watching the developments there? And also, what about the Indian nationals who are stuck in the West Asian countries? Any updates on that, Jessica?
Well, as you have explained the situation briefly, it has been a great moment of concern for the Indian authorities when it comes to those oil tankers and very large gas carriers, VLGCs as they're called, that have been looking for safe passage from the Strait of Hormuz in the last, quite a few days. But the information coming in right now, as we understand, is that VLGC Shivalik, which was has been able to transit and come to the Indian waters. That is the information received yet. Okay. We're also expecting more updates on the movement of vessels right now, because there are certain, if you look at the data, the live tracking data of the ships in the region, there are not there's not much movement of many ships, and certainly very difficult to verify from what spot to which have these both oil tankers as well as gas carriers been moving. So in that sense, Siddharth, this does become a massive concern for India, but India is building up on few contingency plans here and there because 40% of India's oil imports or crude imports come from transit from the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 90% of liquefied petroleum gas transits through there, and roughly about 50% or 40% of LNG also transits from there. So it's of course India is monitoring that situation very carefully. If you see in the recent past few days, the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has held many conversations with his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi, along with the readout yesterday that was presented to the Indian audiences about the conversation that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had with the President of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, about the developments, and also talking about the situation there when it comes to India's oil tankers and its ships carrying gas, which are due to transit there. Because remember, this is something that has, of course, not just shocked the oil markets across the world, but become a genuine emergency here in India, which imports nearly 80% of its energy needs. So the situation is being monitored carefully. And when it comes to the Indian nationals, Siddharth, like you'd recall, last year in June, when the American military operation had claimed to have obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. Even during that operation, which was called Midnight Hammer, the Indian nationals or students who were studying in Iran in medical university were evacuated. Similar plans have also been made to provide them with visas, reaching borders where this kind of help will be extended to expedite things quickly and bring them back. It is a really volatile situation at this point, and the Indian government is trying to ensure that it puts its best effort, both in terms of diplomacy and easing the tensions when it comes to especially not hurting India's, economic demands at this point. Because if you look at this prolonged military confrontation in West Asia, it not only impacts India but the entire subcontinent that would not see movement of ships, because as we know 80% of the world's trade is done on the waters, and if the ships are unable to move from one point to another, it's going to be very difficult for the world economy to go ahead with on the usual course, because reports also suggest that the the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea are also beginning to get active, and most important choke points will see devastating effects, and not just Strait of Hormuz, which remains to be one of the most contentious ones at this point.
Definitely tense situation there. Jessica, we'll keep taking updates from you on this. Thank you so much as of now. We'll leave it there. Moving on to the updates coming in from India's Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Petrol and diesel are adequately available at retail outlets across the country. Consumers are advised not to take or store fuel in loose or inappropriate containers, as it poses serious safety risks. Retail outlets have been instructed to strictly follow safety guidelines while dispensing fuel, and any violation will invite strict action. This is the news that we are getting for you here. Updates coming in from India's Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Petrol and diesel are adequately available at retail outlets across the country. Consumers are advised not to take or store fuel in loose or inappropriate containers, as it poses serious safety risks. Retail outlets have been instructed to strictly follow safety guidelines while dispensing fuel, and any violation will invite strict action. The Indian Naval Sail Training Ship INS Sudarshini arrived at the historic port of Valletta, Malta on 12th of March 2026, marking a significant milestone in her landmark transoceanic expedition Lokayan 26. The visit underscores the deep-rooted maritime ties between India and Malta and represents an important leg of the ship's ambitious 22,000 nautical mile global voyage. The arrival at Valletta follows a successful transit through the Suez Canal and a recent port call at Alexandria. The High Commissioner of India to the Republic of Malta noted that the presence of INS Sudarshini in Malta serves as a powerful symbol of the vision Mahasagar, reinforcing maritime cooperation while fostering people-to-people connections. INS Sudarshini is currently in the second month of her voyage, which commenced at Kochi on 20th of January 2026. Following the visit to Malta, the ship will sail towards the French coast to participate in the Escale Osset Festival. Maritime Festival it is, and where she will proudly represent India alongside some of the world's most celebrated tall ships. INS Trikand concluded her port call at Port Louis, Mauritius on March 13. The ship had participated in the 58th Mauritius National Day Parade on 12th of March with a marching contingent, naval band and integral helicopter for the flypast. The ship also progressed several professional interactions, cultural engagements, sports fixtures and community outreach activities to further strengthen the robust bonds between the two nations. The ship hosted over 500 visitors. The port call reaffirms the long-standing maritime partnership and strengthening bilateral ties between the two countries, aligned with India's vision of Mahasagar, mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions, and reaffirms the strong bilateral ties between India and Mauritius. On the second day of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Assam, he performed the groundbreaking ceremony for the Shillong-Silchar corridor. It is the first access-controlled greenfield 4-lane high-speed corridor in the northeast India. The 166-kilometer corridor being built with an investment of about Rs 22,860 crore will significantly improve connectivity between Meghalaya and Assam. The project will reduce the distance between Guwahati and Silchar and cut travel time from 8.5 hours to around 5 hours, boosting economic growth and cross-border trade in the region.
यह नॉर्थ ईस्ट का पहला एक्सेस कंट्रोल हाई स्पीड कॉरिडोर होगा। साथियों, ये सिर्फ एक हाईवे प्रोजेक्ट नहीं है, ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों के दशकों पुराने इंतजार का अंत हो रहा है। इस कॉरिडोर से सिलचर, मिजोरम, मणिपुर और त्रिपुरा ये सब राज्य कनेक्ट होने वाले हैं।
PM Modi also performed the the ceremony for the first phase of an elevated corridor on the NH 306 from Trunk Road near Capital Point to Rangir Khari Point in Silchar. The project will help reduce traffic congestion, improve connectivity with neighboring states such as Mizoram, Tripura and Manipur. In Karimganj, he also laid the foundation stone for an agricultural college, which is expected to strengthen the agricultural education and research ecosystem in the region. During his West Bengal visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone for multiple development projects in Kolkata on Saturday. In a major boost to road infrastructure in the region, Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone for several national highway projects with a combined length of more than 420 km. These projects are expected to enhance road safety, reduce travel time, ease congestion, improve regional connectivity and promote tourism and boost economic growth in the region. During the visit, Prime Minister will also inaugurate and lay the foundation stone for several shipping and port-related projects. PM Modi will also inaugurate 6 redeveloped railway stations in West Bengal under Amrit Bharat Station Scheme. The government has decided to revoke climate activist Sonam Wangchuk's detention in connection with the violence that took place in Leh last September under the provisions of the National Security Act pursuant to an order issued by the district magistrate Leh with a view to maintaining public order. The government has been actively engaging with various stakeholders and community leaders in Ladakh with a view to addressing the aspirations and concerns of the people of the region. However, the prevailing atmosphere of bunds and protests has been detrimental to the peace-loving character of the society and has adversely affected various sections of the community, including students, job aspirants, businesses, tour operators and tourists and overall economy. The government remains committed to fostering an environment of peace, stability and mutual trust in Ladakh so as to facilitate constructive and meaningful dialogue with all stakeholders. The government reiterates its commitment to providing all necessary safeguards for Ladakh. It remains hopeful that the issues concerning the region will be resolved through constructive engagement and dialogue, including through the mechanism of the high-powered committee as well as other appropriate platforms. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh congratulated the Indian Space Research Organisation for a successful sea-level hot test of the CE-20 cryogenic engine at 22-ton thrust at the ISRO propulsion complex in Tamil Nadu. In a social media post, the minister said that the successful test featuring the nozzle protection system and multi-element igniter marks another important step in strengthening the country's advanced cryogenic propulsion capabilities and further enhancing the reliability of the LVM-3 program. Ahead of the state assembly elections, the Kerala government has reversed its stand on women's entry into the Sabarimala temple. The LDF government will now inform the Supreme Court that traditional temple practices must be respected, meaning women below the age of 50 should not be allowed inside the shrine. The state says its revised position is aimed at protecting long-standing religious customs and traditions associated with Sabarimala. Meta, the owner of Instagram and Facebook, is planning sweeping layoffs that could affect 20% or more of the company as Meta seeks to offset costly artificial intelligence infrastructure and prepares for greater efficiency brought about by AI-assisted workers. No date has been set for the cuts and the magnitude has not been finalized. If Meta settles on the 20% figure, the layoffs will be the company's most significant since restructuring in late 2022, when the company laid off 11,000 staffers. You're watching DD India News Hour, time now for sport. And in women's hockey, India stormed into the final of FIH Hockey World Cup Qualifiers 2026, beating Italy in southern India's Hyderabad. India punched their ticket to the World Cup with a 1-0 win over Italy in the second semi-final on Friday, setting up a title clash against England. Both the teams have remained unbeaten on their way to the final. Italy's chances of qualifying for the World Cup now depend on a victory over Scotland in the third-fourth place playoff. Double Paris 2024 Paralympics medal winner Preeti Pal won the women's 200-meter race with a strong performance at the World Para-Athletics Grand Prix in New Delhi. India had an excellent performance at the event. The host country won 208 medals in total, including 75 gold, 69 silver and 64 bronze medals. This large number was partly because fewer international athletes took part. Preeti Pal was the star of the final day. She had already won the 100-meter gold medal earlier. She then won a 200-meter race with a time of 30.26 seconds, adding another gold medal to her achievements. All right, and my colleague Narayan Singh joins me from newsroom. Hi, Narayan. How big an achievement this is? India winning 208 medals from this event. Certainly shows that shows the growth trajectory of the country when it comes to events like these. Narayan.
Yes, Siddharth, as you mentioned, that a huge achievement by the Indian para-athletes, winning 208 medals and including the 75 gold medals. Shows that where the Indian para-sports is going right now. And if you talk about it, despite of the fact that many countries could not part in this event because of the flight disruption, because of the crisis we are seeing in the world geopolitics. But despite of that, winning 208 medals is a stupendous achievement. And if you take a look, last year, India hosted the World Para-Athletic Championship in New Delhi, and first time India hosted that event, and it shows that India is also becoming a sporting hub of the para sports in the world. And right now, if we talk about the para sports, is a revolution in India. Just if you take a look, the growth trajectory of the para sports in India, if you take a look from the 1988 Seoul Paralympics to till the 2008 8 Olympics.
Indeed.
That is Beijing Olympics. India won only 2 medals in that period of time. And if you take a look from that time, on all other editions of the Paralympics from 1998 to the 2008, India, in other edition, India won no medals. But after 2012 edition, where the event took place in London, India won only 1 medal. But after that, 2016, Rio de Janeiro, 4 medals. And if you talk about the next edition that happened in Tokyo, 19 medals. And in the previous edition, that is Paris Paralympics, India won 29 medals. You can see the difference, Siddharth, that what kind of performance our athletes are delivering. Even yesterday when I talked to the head of the World Para-Athletics, Frisgard, he said that the infrastructure in India is currently one of the best in the world, and India is playing a key role, leading in that role, if you talk about the change in perception about the para sports in the world.
All right, Narayan, we leave it there. Thank you so much. Today, the world celebrates the birth anniversary of Albert Einstein, the visionary scientist whose insights transformed our understanding of the universe. From reshaping the laws of physics to inspiring generations of thinkers, his legacy remains as powerful today as it was over a century ago. A report.
We know the hair, we know the tongue. We know the formula that changed everything in the world of physics. But beyond the posters and the pop culture memes lies the man who taught us how to see the invisible. Today on his birth anniversary, we look back at the clerk who rewrote the laws of the universe. And that is none other than Albert Einstein. Born in Ulm, Germany on March 14th, 1879. Einstein wasn't a child prodigy by traditional standards. It was a compass gifted by his father that first sparked the fire, a realization that something invisible was pulling the strings of the physical world. A technical assistant at a Swiss patent office went on to publish 4 papers in 1905 that shattered 200 years of scientific dogma. He proved that light was both a wave and a particle. He proved atoms existed, and then he dropped the most famous shorthand in history, E equals mc squared. In those 5 symbols, he revealed that energy and matter are just 2 sides of the same coin. The atomic age had found its architect. But Einstein wasn't done. He looked at gravity, Newton's great pull, and saw something different. He saw a curve. His general theory of relativity proposed that space and time are a single fabric, wrapped by the weight of stars and planets. The man who is widely recognized as the father of modern physics won a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921 for his remarkable contributions to the field. Einstein received honorary doctorate degrees in science, medicine, and philosophy from many European and American universities. He gained numerous awards in recognition of his work, including the Copley Medal of the Royal Society of London in 1925 and the Franklin Medal of the Franklin Institute in 1935. Einstein passed away in 1955 in Princeton, New Jersey, but he never truly left us. From the GPS in your pocket to the discovery of gravitational waves and black holes, we are still living in Einstein's universe. On his birthday, we don't just celebrate a man of the past, we celebrate the curiosity that defines our future. Because as long as we look at the stars and wonder why, Albert Einstein lives on.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.